So, Journey Together, is it a viable option? Should you start buying it right now? Now, we're going to go through all of the cards. We're going to have a look at a few of the kind of the top end. The SARs are obviously going to be big in question. At the moment, according to Collector, we're at about 450 to 500 value for the entire set. I believe the value did go down to about the kind of very low 400, and it's kind of rebound across the board with a considerable amount. When you do look at the likes of Clefairy now coming in at 120 to 130, give or take, depending on obviously dollars or pounds, it's an interesting kind of point of view now because we did have it at about 300. We're going to discuss all of the highs and lows, but when you look across this set now, Clefairy is the only £100 card at least, or over. Obviously, Salamence has dropped down, and Zoroark, the Belly Bolt, Volcanion is now stable. But even when you do look at a lot of the illustrations, you see Articuno now going under the 20, and even Wailord at 13. It's an interesting set to have a look at. Now, obviously, this is a smaller set, so you've always got to be more wary that it's not meant to be a crazy massive set. If you compare it to a Destined Rivals or anything like that, it's nowhere near the size of it. So you've got to be very, very careful with what you do compare this sort of level to. Now, if we was to go over to some of the graphs then, we've got all of the SARs and a few of the illustrations to just discuss, is this a viable time to buy now? Because realistically, I would say that it's one of its lowest points going across the board. Not only just the special cards, we've seen a lot of the Destined Rivals really head up in value, and now everybody's heads are going to be turned with Black Bolt, with the Mega Evolutions, and into the new era. Could Journey Together be a little pickup and put it away? It's what I'm personally doing. I'm sitting on, I believe, 96% in master set value. Obviously, a few of the promos I still need to get for the promo binder, but in general, we're sitting on, that's Scarlet and Violet, we're sitting on a whopping 95%. I still need 15 cards, with 16 cards in total. A couple of them being the reverse hollows. I need, no, what's that? I've got 134 out of 143 reverse hollows. So I need 9 reverse hollows in total. And then the rest are going to be illustrations. I know I do need the Articuno. I do need the Clefairy. I need Zoroark. I need Zacian, the Gold Spike Energy, and a couple of the full arts. So it's really, really close to have a look at, really. And to be honest, the value is across the board here. We're looking at kind of a big slope down. Journey Together was really easy to get. Now, not so much. And this is why I'm thinking, is this the time to pick it up? Because I have not seen very many Journey Together unless it's in like a collection box. The Charizard EX collection box came out. That had Journey Together. We've obviously had the Mewtwo box and other stuff that have had Journey Together in there. But I haven't seen any booster boxes in shops, in MSRP shops. I can see it online, obviously, but realistically, I'm not buying a Journey Together box for $200-300 or pounds, for instance, to then try and get this remaining few cards. So it is an interesting one to have a look at. Even pretty much every card has got this level of kind of down dip. Now, obviously, there is a chance that they still go down a bit more. I just think in this market currently, it might not be a bad time to try and get everything. In case it does go up, I would say this is at a good reasonable point where I would say it outweighs the bad. If it goes down, I feel like in a fair few years, if you've got the full set or master set, it's going to have a bigger value than individual cards as such. But in general, it's a nice return if not. If it does tend to go back up, which would be very interesting to see, then it's going to be a great investment in this sort of point of view. Obviously, it all comes with risk. It could easily go down a bit more, but it could also easily rise as more. That's why the advice is just what I see. It's for you to make that decision as such. I'm not saying everybody needs to go and buy this. I just thought, looking at all of the Journey Together set right now, at the point where we're kind of now almost plateauing off a little bit, could we see this is the point to potentially be picking up a lot of these cards that are coming in? And especially, I would say 100% picking up the smaller cards, potentially as far as low as the Volcanion and lower. then maybe looking where the Clefairy goes, looking where Zoroark or Zacian does go. Because when we do look at the Volcanion at $30, at $29, that's pretty reasonable across the board. You could even, if you really wanted to just go for the set, go for a grade 8 as such. Go for a lower grade, as long as it's not absolutely messed up. It's a potential to just put into a set. It's not necessarily a grading set that you particularly want for this one. Same with a lot of these cards. If you're looking at potentially at a lower grade, it's always an interesting one. It's only a couple of like the gold cards, even from Destined Rivals. Gold cards seem to have done pretty well at this point. Obviously, it's kind of reached its peak there at 31, and it's kind of dropped down a little bit. Again, worth having a look at the minimum. We did see the same kind of with the Bellibolt, but it's reversed back round now. And to be honest, it's come down quite a considerable amount. Obviously, Bellibolt and Iona were a fan favourite, so hence why it did a little bit better than the Zoroark. But then you look at some of the illustrations, again, following that same sort of pan, I believe, and I will say this to the absolute moon, till I'm blue in the, well, red in the chest, red in the face, I don't know, whatever. Articuno and Wailord are going to be worth more than this in the future. You cannot tell me that Articuno, this is worth $18, it's worth £15. If you can get this anywhere near £10, $15, I just buy it all. Genuinely, the card looks outrageously clean. It's such a nice Articuno card. And it's a legendary. It's a fan favorite. This card in the future is not going to be worth £15. It's just really not. I can't see how it would be. And even Wailord, even if it's not necessarily the Pokemon itself, it's the perspective that it gives. It's such an interesting artwork, and that's kind of where I'm judging this. It's not necessarily any insider knowledge with this, but look at the artwork. It's clean, it works, it's a very, very nice card indeed, so it's a potential that it could do pretty well. Articuno, I think, does come from the basis that if you look at most of the Articuno cards, pretty much most of a special variety have done well over time. It's just natural for legendaries, for special cards, for illustrations to do well. This is a great one in my opinion. Reshiram, I think, will do well as well. I personally do prefer the Articuno, but like we've seen with a lot of Gym Hero and Gym Challenge, if we're talking 20 years on, could N be the new Brock in that sense? Like Misty, Brock, Ash obviously being in there. Are they the new kind of categories that people are going to talk about in 10, 15 years? Pokemon more than likely will continue this grind throughout, and more than likely will have the level of nostalgic that we have over a Brock and Misty from the very early Gen 1s to what Ethan, Ens, Iona will have in the future as well. Obviously coming in relatively cheap also, kind of now plateauing at the 18, I think is a pretty good pickup. And then you've kind of got a few of, I quite like these cards. They are the artwork over the Pokemon. Now, Furret is as an oldie and goldie. Obviously, you've got Wooloo, who is just brilliant with Hop. And then you've got Lycanroc, again, another fan favourite in my opinion. I love Rockruff. Lycanroc works well. If you didn't notice, there is a Rockruff here as well. I love dual Pokemon in the same one. But in general, the art forms of them, they are cheap and affordable if you can get them for the absolute minimum value. Like that Lycanroc, I'm not saying these go up above 20, 30, 40 pounds a card, but even if you get them at £1, £2 each, and they manage to go up to 5, doubling in a bit your money is an incredible thing to do on anything, let alone a Pokemon card. To do it on any product, if you ask somebody to go double their money on something in a few years, if you've managed to buy 100 of them, 50 of them, 10 of them, and you've just stored them, collected them away, they could be potential of a PSA maybe, then you are going to do something pretty well in my opinion. Lycanroc is always going to be great with the colours. I think the design of it is fantastic. I think Wooloo personally is my favourite out of these, just on the design alone. I think the Furret for me is more that, it's that specific niche sort of collector, that very much perspective collector, the clean, the imagery, it's perfect. And I do think when we do look across this Journey Together set, it is going to be an interesting one to buy. I personally think it's definitely worth a look in at the minimum. Obviously, sealed products have not really gone too kind of crazy. It is pretty much stayed across a consistent line. Now, obviously, sealed product is the more reliable, as we know, but I do think having a full set is going to be a very good, reliable sense later on down the line as well. If someone who doesn't want to hunt for specific cards and they just want to buy an outright set, there you go. That's the set that you could get. It's a very interesting point that Journey Together is at this sort of point where I think we could see it potentially going up a little bit. Let me know your thoughts anyway. I thought it'd be an interesting one to discuss. If I've got it totally wrong, leave it in the comments. Let's have a bit of back and forth. If there's anything else you'd like me to discuss, leave it in the comments and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Peace.